opposing gloves here, and I am wearing a hat. Today I'm going to be showing you side chaining and ducking with Maximus and why I would not do this. So FL Studio has another plugin that is excellent for this, so I don't recommend attempting to do this with Maximus. I think that's just total overkill and not necessary. So I will show you how it can be accomplished though, or the idea of how it is accomplished. Good luck getting good results with this. I'll show you the alternative method that I use and a lot of other people use. There's honestly a lot of philosophies about how you would do it and different ways of doing it and reasons why you do them certain ways. I'm not going into that right now. We're just talking about the thing you could do with Maximus, because I'm sure someone's going to mention it at some point. There is a mid-master mode. So I'm assuming like you should be pretty well amped up about how all this stuff works. So now what we're going to do is we're going to send two signals into Maximus. The reason, so side chaining, if you don't know, side chaining uses one signal to trigger the compressor, and the other signal is then, heard, and it will react. But it is not the signal that triggers the compressor. So you can take a kick, and every time the kick hits, a synthesizer gets softer. That's like the typical way you use sidechaining. And so, or like let's say you're talking on a radio show and you need your music to get softer whenever you talk. And so you'll use your voice as the detector, meaning it will be the thing that triggers the compression. And then so if you're not talking, no compression is happening. That's like the idea of side chain. So what I don't like about how Maximus does this, and I don't think it was really meant to do this anyways, but you cannot, it'd be so cool if you could side chain individual things. I mean, like, I'm not sure what I'd use it for, but it'd be cool. You cannot do that without hearing both signals. So like, for example, I have here a kick and a piano. And I want the piano to go boom, boom, like duck, but I don't want to have to hear the kick. But there's no way to do this with Maximus. So if you know of a way you can do it with Maximus, let me know. But right now, there is not a way. So what you do to at least get it to pump is you can make it so that the mid band controls the master band. So what this means is you could choose a select group of frequencies it's going to listen to, and then it will compress the entire thing as if those frequencies were triggering the whole thing. The bummer is you can't silence the mid band. I don't know why can't they do that? Like, it's kind of ridiculous. But anyways, what you do is you go to, so I'm on a default patch, you go to master mid mode. Bang, you just activated it. What it does, oh, was I already in it? Let me go to a default patch just to be safe. Okay, it's default patch. Now you go to master mid mode. Bang. Now you'll notice that the low and the high band have been disabled. They're not on. They look like they're on, but they're not on. And if we go to our bands, what has happened here is now, as I move this around, now there's another way to achieve this that I'll show you in just a sec. But as I move this around, I can listen for my kick. So I can look at my kick, and I'm like, oh, that's where my kick is. It's down here, well, obviously. And I'm going to move it down there. Listen to only those frequencies. Now, what happens when mid-master mode is on is that the master band is now being triggered by the mid band. So if I compress the mid band, it will compress the entire master band. So we can listen to only these frequencies and have the entire band be compressed. So what's cool is I'm going to put it up to like, I'll leave it like right around there, and I'll have the release time be a little longer. And what I'm going to do now is as it plays, the entire thing will go boom, boom, like it'll get sucked down whenever the kick comes in. So it's kind of a big example, and honestly, this is not like the easiest thing in the world to hear. What you could turn up the pre to make it more obvious. So you hear it starting to pump. So remember, this is about the peaking, because this band is just controlling the master band. That's like what we're doing. So you can hear it beginning to pump, and that's pretty much the idea of side chaining. Now, if we move, now you would use that and you would time it with your song so that it's an effect you would want. But generally you'd want to be able to hear the pumping without having to hear the kick to trigger the pumping. That's why it's not the best option. But you could do the same thing with your voice. Send a voice in here and talk, and it will turn the mix down while you're talking. So really, really cool. And so you could use your settings here to get the pumping in time. You could time the release, so when the thing rises, like whoa, whoa, when that happens, and how quickly it triggers. And of course, you could use the look ahead a little bit to help you out with that. Now, to make it really obvious, you could put a gate, and now it has to pass the threshold. Otherwise, you won't hear anything to prove that it's working. So, because, I mean, you could hear it before, So, I mean, that proved that it was working, but this is really obvious. So now the mid signal must pass this threshold. And when it's not past that threshold, nothing's going to come through on the whole spectrum. So check it out. And if I change this selection, I can influence this. So you see, it passes more often because I've increased the selection, and that has more volume in it, more amplitudes going on. So if I single it down, I can specifically find my kick and do that. So that's the idea. Now let me show you what I am just a billion times easier way to do this. So you could choose to go about it like that, or let's come over here. I have a piano loaded up, and we're going to send it to a thing, and we're going to send this kick. It's already on channel 1. You don't see it though. We'll name it kick. You hold shift and click a name to rename it, at least in the mixer. FL is a program that different shortcuts can mean different things in different windows. It's kind of strange that way. Like, so what we're going to do is we are going to shift click the piano channel send. And so now it's coming into the piano channel, and the plugin I'm talking about, which is pretty much like what I will use most of the time, is a Fruity Limiter plugin. And it has a compressor in it. And you have a sidechain option. So you can right click and you can select kick as your input, and then you can set up your compressor. And if I were to, so the kick now comes through triggering this, it's just way more clean. So if I were to take this way down, we can make this really extreme. So you can hear it doing its thing, very visually represented here. Maximus does the same thing, but you just simply can't do it like that. And if I took the kick out of the master, whoops, I took the piano out of the master. I want to take the kick out. You can hear it without the kick. So that's like, I don't know why that's not a thing in Maximus, but I suppose they were focused. That's not really the purpose of Maximus when you think about it. So anyways, that is why I would rather use something else. You can achieve all the same things, and it's a million times straightforward and simple and just clearer and easier to manipulate than to try and do it through Maximus. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. If you have a different opinion, you know, make yourself heard. I'm curious. Maybe you have a better way of setting things up or something. I don't know. Subscribe, support me on Patreon, because people like you make it possible for these tutorials to even be a thing. And have a blessed day.